Welcome to Bible Fiber, where we are encountering the textures and shades of the prophetic tapestry in a year-long study of the 12 minor prophets. I am Shelley Neese, president of the Jerusalem Connection, a Christian organization devoted to sharing the story of the people of Israel, both ancient and modern. This week we begin the book of Numbers, the fourth volume in our weekly Torah readings. Previously, we covered the grand sweeps of human history in Genesis and followed the sons of Jacob into Egypt. We reached a dramatic turning point in the Israelite story when Pharaoh finally let God's people go. While Leviticus established the standards for purity and sanctity within the priesthood, Numbers focuses on the establishment of order in the wilderness camp. It depicts the building of a great nation, albeit one still in utero. The first reading portion in Numbers covers chapter 1, verse 1 to chapter 4, verse 20. Both the first section and the entire book is titled Bamidbar, which means in the wilderness. It comes from the first verse, "The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai." The name wilderness is probably more descriptive of the book's content than the English title, Numbers. Numbers begins with the Israelites still camped at the base of Mount Sinai. They remain there for the first 10 chapters as they organize the camp, conduct the census, and receive final instructions from the Lord. The Israelites have been out of Egypt for 2 years, stationed in the wilderness of Sinai, and the Tabernacle has been operational for only a month. If you did not already know the narrative and you were a brand new Bible reader, you would likely expect the people at this point to begin the second part of their journey and start the march. All the signposts indicate they are on the verge of taking possession of the land. Before decamping from Mount Sinai, God commands Moses and Aaron to take a census of all the congregation. He says, "Take a census of the whole congregation of Israelites, in their clans by ancestral houses, according to the number of names, every male individually from 20 years old and up, everyone in Israel able to go to war. You and Aaron shall enroll them, company by company." The census would organize the nation, but the specific instructions given to Moses and Aaron focused on identifying and counting those fit for battle. They had to have a record of the number of men able to go forth to war, which meant all men over the age of 20. The Levites were the only tribe not eligible for military service, as they were set apart for the service of the Tabernacle. By the end of the census, they knew they had a total of 603,550 men eligible to fight for and defend the camp. Although Numbers 1 hardly counts as a literary hook or makes for a dramatic reading, the census list is a crucial step for establishing an outward orderly arrangement for the camp. This transformed a loosely organized group of former slaves into a structured community. Once the count was complete, the tribes were assigned specific positions around the tabernacle. Numbers is the blueprint for a threefold square camp, with the tabernacle and its courtyard at the innermost center. Surrounding the courtyard were 2 concentric squares. The Levites lived in the inner square, divided by families and their respective responsibilities. Moses and the priests occupied the prestigious eastern side, directly in front of the tabernacle entrance, and they guarded the way into the presence of God. In the outer square, 3 tribes occupied each of the 4 sides. The camp was oriented by the compass. Judah stood to the east, Reuben to the south, Ephraim to the west, and Dan to the north. The arrangement of the tribes around the tabernacle perimeter was a practical measure for organization and local governance. It was also a means of promoting equity. Because the people were not yet landowners, everyone had an encampment to call their own. With the tabernacle at the center, the divine presence remained at the geometric heart of the nation. In pagan cities of the ancient Near East, the palace or temple was often set apart on a hill or in a restricted district. Many Mesopotamian Canaanite cities utilized a temple on high, or acropolis model, that physically separated the divine residence from the common populace. The tabernacle's central, ground-level placement was a distinctive theological statement. This spatial arrangement communicated that the covenant was with the whole nation, not just an elite class. God abided with them as their protector, provider, and instructor. Moses, through the counsel of Jethro, had established a group of elders to assist him in the process of issuing judgments and hearing conflict. Every tribe appointed a delegate to represent them in the census and to bring their tabernacle offerings. The census itself reinforced this equity by recording each man by name, ensuring that every individual was recognized as a vital member of the community. Like a shepherd counting his sheep, the census was a sign of God's caretaking love. However, all this talk of equity doesn't seem to apply to the Levites. In the inner circle, between the rest of the tribes in the tabernacle, lived the 4 divisions of Levites. By placing the Levites between the tabernacle and the encampments, they were like a buffer zone to prevent any non-Levite from approaching the sanctuary too closely. Numbers states, "But the Levites shall camp around the tabernacle of the covenant, that there may be no wrath on the congregation of the Israelites. And the Levites shall perform the duties of the tabernacle of the covenant." The Levites were positioned closest to the center, but their role was to serve the people as they mediated between the nation and God through their tabernacle service. All of Numbers 3 describes the duties of the Levites and their numbering. The text states, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, 'Bring the tribe of Levi near and set them before Aaron the priest, so that they may assist him. They shall perform duties for him and for the whole congregation in front of the tent of meeting. Doing service at the tabernacle, they shall be in charge of all the furnishings of the tent of meeting and attend to the duties for the Israelites as they do service at the tabernacle. You shall give the Levites to Aaron and his descendants. They are unreservedly given to him from among the Israelites.'" Despite the emphasis on the Levitical role as servant to the community, it still feels as though the Levites are being elevated above the other tribes. This raises the question, by what merit did the Levites secure such a position? Knowing human nature and group dynamics, I am certain this question arose within the camp as well. However, God preempts the accusation with the history lesson from Exodus. In Numbers 3, again, God says, "I hereby take the Levites from among the Israelites as substitutes for all the firstborn that open the womb among the Israelites. The Levites shall be mine, for all the firstborn are mine. When I killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated for my own all the firstborn in Israel, both human and animal. They shall be mine. I am the Lord." So all of the Israelites' firstborns were spared during the final plague in Egypt. Because of that act of mercy, God called for every firstborn to be dedicated to divine service. In Exodus 13, God said, "Consecrate to me all the firstborn." He claimed them as his own. And originally, this implied that the eldest son of every family would serve as the domestic priest or representative for that household in matters relating to worship. However, the role of the firstborn lasted only 4 months. When Moses descended Mount Sinai and found the Israelites worshiping the golden calf, he called out, "Who is on the Lord's side? Come to me." According to rabbinic tradition, the firstborn sons participated in the golden calf worship, or at least they failed to stop it. By contrast, the tribe of Levi rallied to Moses' side with swords in their hand. They were the only tribe to respond as a unified body. While the camp ran wild, Moses called on the Levites to restore order and to purge the idolaters. They went back and forth through the camp, from gate to gate, and killed those who led the idolatrous rebellion. Because the Levites demonstrated exclusive loyalty and refused to participate in the idolatry, they were ordained for the service of the Lord. Yet it isn't until Numbers that the Levites are formally exchanged for the firstborn to take over those responsibilities. This event is the theological and historical reason the Levites were later chosen in the book of Numbers to replace the firstborn sons. While the firstborns of all the tribes were originally meant to be the priest, their failure to stand with Moses during the golden calf crisis led to their disqualification. The Levites' decisive action transformed them from a secular tribe into a consecrated class of ministers. Because the firstborn were originally purchased by God during the Exodus, a formal redemption was required once the Levites took their place. In Numbers 3, 40 through 51, Moses counted 22,273 firstborn Israelite males and 22,000 Levites. And here's where a little math comes in. there were 273 more firstborn than Levites, and it was those extra sons that had to be redeemed by paying 5 shekels each to the sanctuary. This established the permanent statute that every firstborn Israelite male must be redeemed from a priest, a descendant of Aaron, for 5 shekels. A ceremony still observed in many Jewish traditions today when a firstborn male child reaches his 31st day after birth. While Numbers 3 establishes the historical reason for the exchange of the Levites for the firstborn, Numbers 18 establishes the permanent legal protocol for how that redemption is carried out. There's also a powerful connection here to the Gospel of Luke in chapter 2, when Mary and Joseph bring Jesus to the temple as an infant. But I'm going to save that connection for the commentary on Numbers 18. That's it for this week. As you know by now, we are following the Jewish reading calendar throughout the year. However, when a major biblical festival falls on the Sabbath, the regular reading cycle is paused to prioritize the holiday. And that's the case next week, because Shavuot falls on a Friday. Shavuot celebrates the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. After that, we'll resume our walk through the wilderness the following week, May 30th, with the portion Naso. If you'd like to get the study questions that go with this episode, please visit our website at thejerusalemconnection.us. Shabbat Shalom and Am Israel Chai.